Not sure how long I'm going to be able to go without gas or switching gas tanks, but because I should have already run out. I'll pump this up and use what we can out of here, and then we'll switch over once we get underway. I don't expect we'll go far, a couple miles maybe. Get the autopilot going, get the engine started. Get the navigation started. Depth sounders are on, cameras are on. Get my other chart up. I need to secure that plastic for the crossing here, but I don't want to lose that over the side. All right, let's go pull anchor. Shouldn't take too long. Bottom was fairly uniform, that I saw, at least what I saw yesterday. So it should be just mud. Well, we pray that the crossing will go smooth, seas will be calm, no mechanical failures. Got up an hour earlier today, not sure why, which is fine. Gives me an earlier start. Had a little more rode out last night because of the depth of the water. I try to use a 7-to-1 ratio to be extra safe, even though there were no winds. Could have been 5-to-1 was probably good enough. And the depth was about 10 feet or more, so I had 70 feet out. This bucket on the bow works pretty good for holding the road. Here's the chains coming up. And the fact that there's no wind to speak of is helpful. I think it broke loose. I rock it a little bit to get the mud off. Usually the chain lays on the bottom, although it's pretty clean. So that went well, no problem. Let's get going there. Nope, I always leave that autopilot control back here. Need to have that available. We're underway. Not even trying to monitor the screens anymore, just too much of a pain in the neck. It won't connect with the app. Well, is my buddy up on the hill? Let's take a look. Nope, he's out cruising. Must be looking for breakfast. Had Eagle set up on that cliffside there all day yesterday and all night, and then took off this morning looking for breakfast. I don't see him flying around the area here, but I'm sure he's out there someplace. I'm going to go around the corner here, around the Grand Cape, and take a look at the channel on the other side. There's supposed to be some dramatic terrain there, and it should be interesting. And then we'll be in somewhat protected waters when I have to change that tank. And we'll look again for the signs of the campground, although if I was going to pick one, it would be right there. The little sandy beach. It looks like there's space up there to have tents if you cleared out the brush, but it just may not have been cleared for a long time. It's not maintained. Well, it looks like sunny sky out to the north, and I don't see my Eagle buddy in the skies, and I still don't see a campground. Well, we're getting off here before 9 today, so that's a little earlier start than usual. That hour, getting up an hour earlier, helps with that. Well, let's go ahead and set up the autopilot. It must have rained last night. I see drops all over the solar panels, but I didn't hear it. I know there was rain in the late afternoon, but the rain wouldn't still be on the panels if that was the case. Yeah, it does seem to hunt when you're on the northern heading, which I had the problem with the other day. So if you're on the north or south heading. So I think I'll go to manual. About 60 feet here. I don't know how shallow it gets off this point, but I think what I'll do is give it plenty of berth. Got 85 feet now, so I'm going to go around what they call St. Paul Island. This channel that I'm going to go down is called Gross Cap. Depth is still deep, so 103. left the windshield up because the wind is a little bit out of the north, and for a longer stretch it would probably be pretty chilly with the water temperature currently showing 54. There's a couple of campgrounds down here I wanted to look at, you know, for myself or if I ever came back. I read a report from a canoeist, Lost Lake, came up here last fall. He complained about the sites being contaminated with a lot of junk. So we'll see if we can find that. Usually that just means fishermen that don't have their own gear bring a lot of stuff to make camp life more convenient, but then they leave the stuff instead of taking it home with them. You know, nice cliffs along in here, but looks like there was a fire came through that area not too long ago over on the starboard side. Better slow down here because we got rocks on the left. We'll favor the left side, that seems steeper. It gets a little shallower, 40 feet up to 30. A little shallower, 15 feet here, so yeah, it definitely hunts when you go on a north-south heading. Coming up on the first couple of campgrounds here. The steering went nuts for me for a while there. I don't know what that was all about. It wasn't responding to my control. About 65 feet. I like the fact that there's just nobody around. You know, that part of it is, you know, it's not that I won't see somebody today, but you know, it's been pretty quiet. I mean, I saw that one fishing boat a couple days ago. But that's been about it. Well, this is where the campsite should be. So let me see if I can figure. Nothing yet. Well, wait a minute, maybe that's, yeah, there it is right there. Yeah, well, that would be pretty protected. Yeah, and you could probably tie up there. Yeah, so I don't see a bunch of trash there, but then there's supposed to be another one across the way over here. Oh, there's a boat. Well, first time I've run across a boat. I think he's anchored. Yeah, he's anchored. Just talked about not seeing anybody, and then I come around the corner and there they are. I'm not sure about the campsite on this side. I can't see it. Oh yeah, there it is. There's the campsite. Pretty steep side there though. I don't know if I could get in there. Pretty steep. Yeah, that's all the trash he's talking about. Yeah, quite a bit of stuff in there. It's possible you could get in there, but I'm not sure where. All right, let's get the autopilot going again. And we'll turn the cameras off when we get up here a little further. That is a fairly protected spot though. I like that. Both of those campsites are pretty good. Let's go ahead and turn things off. All right, I'm going to show you a little bit of what the autopilot is doing underway. It's holding an excellent course right now. We're on a long 10-mile stretch of open water up to the Kelvin Island area, Wilson Island in particular. As you can see, the autopilot's working pretty smoothly. Minimal amount of steering. I've had a few instances where it doesn't do quite as well. I don't quite understand that, if that's just anomalies of iron ore under the surface of the water, because there doesn't seem to be an explanation. This morning I was having a little of that on one course, but then later on it was fine. Pretty much the same course I'm on right now. Get surprised all the time with things I forget. I got a third of the way across on this crossing, which is a long and dangerous crossing, and didn't have my locating beacon on, you know, so that my family could track my position. I've done that a couple of times now. I got to be careful about that. Just so many things to remember when you're starting out on a leg, especially if you're trying to film a lot. I've got 2 remote mics. I've got 2 cameras all the time. As we go in here, I'm trying to, there's one reef I've got to be careful of. Doesn't look like it should be a significant problem, but just off the point that you see off to starboard, if you go extend that out, there's a reef about kind of the middle of the channel. So I'm trying to avoid that, obviously. I'm going to slow down a little bit as I get closer. Depths are still quite deep, so I'm not too concerned right now. But now I got the application to accept the camera this time. I don't know why it didn't do that before, but you know, it's been inconsistent. I think I'm just suspicious I'm getting conflict with the Zoleo, because that uses Bluetooth as well. So now it's coming up in depth. We're coming up to 75 feet or so. I'm still using the autopilot in the automatic mode. So we've only got about a mile, maybe a little more, to where we're going to anchor. So we've got not very far to go. All right, we still got deep water here. So there goes a bald eagle. Start backing off a little bit. Breeze has come up a little bit too here in the islands. I don't know if that's just because we're close to land, or it could be the land breeze. The land starts heating up in the sun. And all right, we're coming between the land and the reef, which is somewheres out here. It's certainly not on the surface, so I can't see it. So I'm just kind of rounding this curve here into the middle of the channel. I'm hoping the campsite is open and that it would be one that I can tie ashore to. It'd be nice to do that for a change. Still got deep water here. There goes a bald eagle, probably on shore eating his lunch. I'm seeing a lot of bald eagles up here compared to Temagami, and it's amazing how many more birds. No osprey yet, but so far I'm very pleased with the autopilot. It's functioning like it should. Got about, quarter of a mile to go before we turn into the anchorage. It'll be on our starboard side. All right, we're past that point, so I'm going to bring up the Navionics chart. Got 3/4 of a mile till we get to the anchorage. And it's 11 o'clock and we're inside the islands, the protection of the islands. It's always a good feeling when you get off the big lake. I should be in islands closer legs for the next week or so. That's Wilson Island off to the right. Well, it was a pleasant crossing. You know, the reality was it was flat water. That's just a blessing from God. I prayed about that I would have flat seas on this trip, and so far that's been the case. This will be my, I think this is the 5th leg. Every one of them has been pretty flat. I think I had a little roll there one day, leftover roll from a previous night, because there was a long fetch to the south. As I went along the south of Shakespeare Island, there was kind of a adverse roll, knocked a bunch of stuff off the counter, but actually there was no wind. It was just a leftover swell from the night before or earlier that morning. This is my controller for the autopilot, and we'll be switching over to manual here pretty quick because we'll be going into the anchorage. We still got about 4/10 of a mile. Still deep, 63, 64 feet. A lot of these islands have inland lakes that if you knew if there was a trail, it would be kind of fun to kayak, portage in and kayak on a couple of them. But there was a place there that I thought I might be able to paddle up a river to one lake. Certainly Ray Lake back on Shakespeare, I could have done that. But there was no place to hide the boat while I did that. And I wouldn't want to anchor there where it was exposed. Yesterday, where I anchored, that was a place I could have looked like there was a river that I could have kayaked up, at least part way anyway, the bay there, so I didn't go down and check it out. Wasn't ready to do any kayaking. Well, we're getting close here now. Still deep. Well, I don't see anybody yet. I'm about ready to switch over to manual. See if I can see a campsite. Nothing. Well, doesn't look like anybody's in here, so I see the campsite. Actually, it looks pretty good. Go in there, see if we can tie up. That'll be really wonderful if I can. It's sandy. Tree on the left side. I don't know where I'll tie to the right, but it should work. Yeah, I like this. Stay here a couple of days. Time for a break. about 15 feet here now, so it came up shallow real quick. Not sure why I didn't see that one campground yesterday on that point. It was a real rocky shore, and that might have been one of the reasons. You might have to get really close to see it. I was a couple hundred yards or more off. Sometimes it can be hidden. Some high ridges behind this site. It's a big island, so it could still have bears. Nice little bay, probably buggy, some low water around it, and prime mosquito country. But I haven't run into too many, even in the evening. It's amazing. I don't know if it's just because it's so dry up here, or let's see. Maybe that tree's big enough on the right to tie to. Looked like a bush from out there, but kind of a sandy beach. Too bad the water's so cold. Even here it's 56. Still pretty cold. 15 feet, 8 feet, so it gets shallow. Bring the motor up. Looks very sandy. Shouldn't be any danger of rock. I don't see any rocks. Yeah, it looks okay. There we are. Keep a little pressure on the motor. It's 1.5 feet at the stern, so we're okay. Let's go see what we can work out. It looks like there's a tree here that I can tie to. I'll tie that temporarily and get the other one done. A lot of garbage, unfortunately, but I think that's what you're going to find in this kind of country. Tie this other one up permanently. Somebody camped here not too long ago that I can see the marks on the grass where they had their ground cloth. It's been used. All right, there we go. Tied up and not bad. Decent site. Let's get the ramp out here so we can get to and from shore easy. Extending the gangplank so that I don't have to walk in the sand, because every time you walk in the sand it brings something. All right, that should be pretty good, pretty stable. Time to shut things down. There's mosquitoes around, so I'll definitely have to keep the doors closed. Hell, I already let a few in. What are you gonna do? Well, the wind came up a little bit. Not much, I mean, it's just a breeze, but I'll turn the P2 off. I need to get that signaled. Turn the engine off. Okay, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to chuck in. Depth, we can turn off. I don't need that information anymore. Well, we're here. Finally tied up at a nice boat site. Not too much exposure. I mean, if it was real strong wind, we're open to the west here, but I don't anticipate that. It's supposed to be fairly mild, at least the last report. What do I have here? It's supposed to be the rest of the afternoon. I think the highest speeds we get are tonight about 4 p.m. south-southwest. Could get a little bit of wave in here, but not much with that kind of wind. Then, it actually increases to 9. I didn't think it was going to do that, but it says 8 p.m. 9 miles per hour from the south, which is fine. It'll stay south and then switch again back to south-southwest, west-southwest, and light in the morning. But, and then afternoon, it'll start getting breezy out of the south. So 13 miles an hour out of the south by 6 a.m. tomorrow. Is that right? No, 6. It'll be light in the morning, but 6 a.m. 2 days from now, it'll be windy. So I've got to keep that in mind. I'm going to have to decide, do I move tomorrow? I don't really want to. The following day. So I'll have to see. All right, let's stop our navigation and we'll save our track. Track 2, we went 15.2 miles today. And this was leg 5, so we'll label that. I label it with N for Nipigon and leg 5. Longest leg so far, 15.2 miles. When we started out, we were right here, and then we went around Grand Cape, and then we went through around St. Paul's Island. We checked out a campsite here and a campsite here, and then we went across the big water, about 10 miles open water, and then we came into Wilson Island right there. Anyway, that's where we're anchored, and we're secure, tied to shore, and hopefully this will be a fun spot to spend a couple days. We'll talk to you later.